Hi, and welcome to another installment of Story Time with Pat. I was going to read the last story out of this book, but I read it just now again, and it's actually pretty rubbish. I'll sum it up for you. Basically, it's this person who's scared of some trousers without people in them, which is fair enough, and then they become friends. It's not a great one. It just highlights accepting people that you don't really know, really. It's not that interesting. But, it's a big one today. I'm going to be going on a bit of a marathon. It's going to be a chapter every day. Should take me about 30 days. It's by one of the biggest child authors ever. It's probably one of his biggest books. It is from the world's #1 storyteller. And surprisingly enough, it's not me. It's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I'm excited because I really would like to read this. It's illustrated by Quentin Blake here. Classic. He illustrates all this stuff. We'll introduce the characters first. Charlie Bucket. So it's here on this page. Can you see? Charlie Bucket, Mr. Wonka, Augustus Gloop, Mike TV, Veruca Salt, Violet Beauregard, and the Oompa Loompas. I'm excited. We're going to read a chapter a day, and we'll see how it goes. It should take about 30 days, provided I do a video every day, which I probably will. Basically, it says here, so it's for someone called Theo. Maybe it's for Theo. Yeah. 5 children in this book: Augustus Gloop, the greedy boy; Veruca Salt, girl who is spoiled by her parents; Violet Beauregard, a girl who chews gum all day long; Mike TV, a boy who does nothing but watch television; and Charlie Bucket, the hero. And we'll get cracking. The first chapter is called Here Comes Charlie, and here comes Pat reading Here Comes Charlie. Bit of illustration, those are his grandparents. These two very old people are the father and mother of Mr. Bucket. Their names are Grandpa Joe and Grandma Josephine. So those are the people I just showed you. These are two other grandparents. And these two very old people are the father and mother of Mrs. Bucket, and their names are Grandpa George and Grandma Georgina. This is Mr. Bucket and Mrs. Bucket. Mr. and Mrs. Bucket have a small boy whose name is Charlie Bucket. Sorry, couldn't read it. And this guy, this dashing young fellow here, is Charlie. And how do you do? And how do you do? And how do you do again? He is pleased to meet you. The whole of this family, the 6 grown-ups, count them, grandmother and grandfather, Joe and Josephine, Grandpa George, Grandma Georgina, Mr. and Mrs. Bucket, that's 6, Charlie, that's 7. And little Charlie Bucket lived together in a small wooden house on the edge of a great town. The house wasn't nearly large enough for so many people, and life was extremely uncomfortable for them all. There were only 2 rooms in the place altogether, and there was only 1 bed. The bed was given to the 4 old grandparents because they were so old and tired. They were so tired they never got out of it. Grandpa Joe and Grandma Josephine on this side, and Grandpa George and Grandma Georgina on this side. So say that their Grandpa Joe and Grandpa Josephine are here, and then Grandma Georgina and Grandpa George are over here. It's like head to toe. You know what I'm talking about? Mr. and Mrs. Bucket and little Charlie Bucket slept in another room upon the mattress on the floor. In the summertime, this wasn't too bad, but in the winter, freezing cold drafts blew through the floor all night long, and it was awful. But there wasn't any question of them being able to buy a better house, or even 1 more bed to sleep in. They were far too poor for that. Mr. Bucket was the only person in the family with a job. He worked in a toothpaste factory, where he sat all day long at a bench and screwed the little caps onto the tops of the tubes of toothpaste after the tubes had been filled. But a toothpaste cap screwer is never paid very much money, and poor Mr. Bucket, however hard he worked, and however fast he screwed on the caps, was never able to make enough money to buy 1/2 of the things that so far larger family needed. There wasn't even enough money to buy proper food for them all. The only meals they could afford were bread and margarine for breakfast, boiled potatoes and cabbage for lunch, and cabbage soup for supper. Sundays were a bit better. They all looked forward to Sundays because then, although they had exactly the same, everyone was allowed a second helping. The Buckets, of course, didn't starve, but every one of them, the 2 old grandfathers, the 2 old grandmothers, Charlie's father, Charlie's mother, and especially little Charlie himself, went about from morning till night with a horrible empty feeling in their tummies. Charlie felt it worst of all, and although his father and mother often went without their own share of lunch or supper so that they could give it to him, it wasn't nearly enough for a growing boy. He desperately wanted something more filling and satisfying than cabbage and cabbage soup. The one thing he longed for more than anything else was chocolate. Chocolate. Walking to school in the mornings, Charlie could see great slabs of chocolate piled up high in the shop windows, and he would stop and stare and press his nose against the glass, his mouth watering like mad. Many times a day he would see other children taking bars of creamy chocolate out of their pockets and munching them greedily, and that, of course, was pure torture. Only once a year, on his birthday, did Charlie Bucket ever get to taste a bit of chocolate. The whole family saved up their money for that special occasion, and when the great day arrived, Charlie was always presented with one small bar of chocolate to eat all by himself, and each time he received it on those marvellous birthday mornings, he would place it carefully in a small wooden box that he owned and treasure it as though it were a bar of solid gold. And for the next few days he would allow himself only to look at it, but never to touch it, and then at last, when he could stand it no longer, he would peel back a tiny bit of the paper wrapping at one corner to expose a tiny bit of chocolate, and then he would take a tiny nibble, just enough to allow the lovely sweet taste to spread out slowly over his tongue. The next day he would take another tiny nibble, and so on and so on. And in this way Charlie would make his 6-penny bar of birthday chocolate last him for more than a month. But I haven't yet told you about the one awful thing that tortured little Charlie, the lover of chocolate, more than anything else. This thing for him was far, far worse than seeing slabs of chocolate in the shop windows, watching other children munching bars of creamy chocolate right in front of him. It was the most terrible, torturing thing you could imagine, and it was this. In the town itself, actually within sight of the house in which Charlie lived, there was an enormous chocolate factory. Just imagine that. And it wasn't simply an ordinary enormous chocolate factory either. It was the world's largest and most famous chocolate factory. It was Willy Wonka's factory, owned by a man called Mr. Willy Wonka, the greatest inventor and maker of chocolate that has ever been born. And what a tremendous, marvellous place it was. It had huge iron gates leading into it, and a high wall surrounding it, and smoke belching out of its chimneys, and strange whizzing sounds coming from deep inside of it, and outside the walls for half a mile around in every direction. The air was scented with the heavy, rich smell of melting chocolate. Twice a day, on his way to and from school, little Charlie Bucket had to walk right past the gates of the factory, and every time he went by, he would begin to walk very, very slowly. And he would hold his nose high in the air and take long, deep sniffs of the gorgeous, chocolatey smell all around him. Oh, how he loved that smell. And oh, how he wished he could go inside the factory and see what it was like. And that is the end of chapter 1. Hope you enjoyed it. I thought that I quite liked it. Actually, my mouth was watering during the description of the chocolate, I'm not gonna lie. Chapter 2 will come tomorrow, and so on and so forth. I quite liked reading it. I actually am a big fan of this book. Again, already, I love Roald Dahl, and it really takes me back to my childhood. So, yeah, this is what it's going to be, guys. This is what it's about. Roald Dahl. I'm going to do Roald Dahl from now on. Dr. Seuss, you're done, I'm afraid. Unless I find Green Eggs and Ham. So, I hope you enjoyed it.